Hello and welcome to the Darlo Till I Die podcast, and the Quakers keep marching on. Steve Watson's side made it 3 wins from 3 with a 2-0 win at Blackwell Meadows over Bedford Town, lifting Darlo to the dizzy heights of 4th in the table. And with the M&M strike force in outstanding form, this is a team right now not afraid of anyone. On this month's edition of Darlo Till I Die, we break down that win over Bedford and ask whether it's time for Darlo to start looking up at the table rather than over their shoulders. And Darlo getting a mention in Coronation Street. We investigate. It's all coming up on the Darlo Till I Die podcast. Delighted to welcome onto the panel today 2 debutants. First of all, it's a very warm welcome to John Vickerman. John, how are you?
Very well. Thank you, Adam.
And I'll extend that welcome to Wayne Raper. Wayne, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Adam. Pleased to be on the show. Heard a lot about it and listened to my first podcast last week. So, yeah, raring to go.
Fantastic. So as anyone who has listened to the pod will know, when I've got someone new on, I like to find out about their time supporting the club. I know you've both been heavily involved in the background as well with the supporters group and whatnot. So I might come to you first, John. Just give us a little taste of your time supporting Darlo and your involvement.
Yeah, sure. I'm definitely in the category of Darlo till I die. It won't be long. I've been supporting Darlo since I was 4. So that is, I hate to admit it, about 60 years. So that long. And my father took me to the game, and his father-in-law used to take him. So, there's a long family history along with my brother Pete. So, so there we go. Maybe just to say a little bit about what I do, Adam, to extend to that. I'm a director of the football club rather than supporters group. So I've been involved in that, I think, for 7 years now, maybe even longer. I lose track of time with Darlington. And I get involved in typically, general board matters, but also any HR things that come up, human resources things, which is my day job back at the ranch.
Okay, brilliant. And I'll come to you, Wayne. I'll extend that question because if I've heard this right, you were the brains behind Boost the Budget. So, yeah, tell us a bit about that.
No, absolutely right. So one of many things, back in the early days on the supporters group, back when Martin Gray was manager. So Martin was obviously looking for more funds to strengthen the team, and we all know what went on at that infamous fans forum. And I could really write a book on this thing. But yeah, ultimately, we had some great players at the time: Phil Turnbull, Nathan Cartman, etc. We wanted to try and retain those. So yeah, I just took the idea back to the DFCSG board at the time that we needed to find some way to raise these funds. And obviously we had a huge number of owners at the time, probably 1,000. So the idea was just to try and kind of crowdfund, really. Crowdfunding was obviously a thing then, but it wasn't being done as far as I know at any football clubs. So yeah, along with Mike Price, got a platform put together in a couple of weeks, started it, and the rest is history, so to say. Over £1 million raised to date.
It's quite an achievement, and it's become sort of an integral part of what we do as well. So, yeah, you must be. Did you ever think it would, become what it has become, Wayne?
I didn't, and I don't think a lot of people did, to be honest, including the manager at the time. And the first one, I think we raised maybe 40k, something like that, which, was great. But then, to look at the numbers approaching £200,000 now, and it kind of just grows year on year, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I love watching it towards those final days, as well as it's edging closer to the total, and we go past it, don't we? It's just amazing how generous these Darlo fans are, right? And it's incredible.
And we're nearly there again, right? 1st of May will be the booster budget for next season. So I hope everybody's saving madly for that.
And who knows what division will be in come then as well? Or, I think the playoffs might be sort of underway by then as well. But speaking of which, let's maybe turn our attention to yesterday's game. It was a 2-0 victory for Darlington against Bedford Town. Goals from Cedric Main and Jack Maskell. Chaps, speaking to a couple of people, since the game, the words I've heard are comfortable, professional, routine. Wayne, I'll come to you. Would that be fair?
Efficient, yeah, absolutely efficient. I think, do you know what? This team just gets the job done with minimal fuss. I think we've finally found that balance between keeping the back door shut and scoring a few at the other end. And what better time in the season to kind of find that form and that consistency than the run in the last quarter, the last 13 games.
What did you think, John? It's looking like a very handy partnership that Cedric and Jack have forged right now. I mean, they're unstoppable at the moment.
I think they're really good, and I would also say Aiden as well. I mean, Aiden's not getting a look in the last couple of games, but I'm always impressed when he comes on. It's really nice to see the ability to rotate three strikers through. So, you've always got to factor in you might get an injury with one of them, but I've got to say, Cedric's form's unbelievable at the moment after seeing over a couple of seasons. Jack's just continuing to develop, and we haven't seen that upper limit yet. I think Jack's got more to give, more to go. So great number of goals. Is it 15 for Cedric now? 12 for Jack, something like that?
Well, he's in fine form. Is it something like 10 in his last 10? I mean, Wayne, Cedric occasionally has had his detractors amongst the fan base, but I mean, you can't argue with what he's doing at the minute. He's been fantastic.
Not at all, and I've never understood it, to be perfectly honest. I really don't get it. I think he never hides, even when he's not scoring goals, he's trying to create, he's trying to beat a man. I've just never understood some of the criticism that's levied his way, but certainly, I think he's shut a few people up in recent weeks where he's really added those goals to his game that maybe last season was missing. I think, for me, he picked up an injury, didn't he, at the start of last season, and I think that hampered him probably most of the way through the season. I think we're seeing kind of Cedric fly, and he's on top of his game. But you know what? You mentioned M&M, and I don't think we can forget the other M, which is Will McGowan sitting in behind. Another guy who's in double figures for goals for the season, and between the three of them, I don't think there's a better three in the league at the moment. I really don't.
Yeah, John, I mean, speaking of, maybe the triple M, we should call him now. I think back to a few seasons ago where we had Mark Beck, Jack Lambert and Jacob Hazel who were firing, and I think we were top at Christmas. Now we know how that one finished up. But yeah, this trio we've got up top, they can cause any team problems.
I think they can, and I mean, it's also a complete team performance, isn't it? I mean, if you add to that, we saw with Charlie Lennon, we're seeing with Max Howells, and you've had Paddy in there as well in that mix. Really, really good attacking team. It's really delightful to watch them. It's great watch, darling. So if you haven't seen Darling, if you're listening to this, get along and see. You're going to see goals.
You're certainly going to be entertained as well. Since the last sort of podcast, there has been a few sort of comings and goings amongst the playing squad. I think, Charlie had just left when I recorded the last pod with Stodd and Will Hatfield. Ellis Stanton didn't get much of a look in during the first half of the season, Wayne. But since injuries to Paddy and also Will McGowan, who was out for a few weeks, he's really come in and kept his place, hasn't he? I think it's hard for Steve Watson to drop him now.
Yeah, he's been highly impressive. I mean, I had a lot of sympathy with him because he's being asked to come to a new club and play 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. It's quite difficult. A few substitute appearances earlier in the season, and some games he'd come on, he'd look great. The other games he'd come on and not so. But since he's had that run in the team, he's really held that place down. And the impressive thing for me is he can play that holding role when he's asked to, or he can play in that 10. So he's been. The versatility that he's brought to the team has really meant that when McGowan was out, when Paddy's been out, it's been a real concern for me, but he's slotted in there and he's just done the job admirably. And I think, full respect to the key people in the team that he's managed to deputise for, and the results haven't faltered, and if anything, we've possibly got better.
I'm just thinking of that game at Spennymoor, was it the little turn and then the ball to Max Howells for the first goal with the outside of his boot. It was absolute class. John, another fairly recent arrival has been Rory Watson following PJ's return to Gateshead, and again a huge save in that Spennymoor game. And I think some people are even saying he might even be an improvement on PJ, who I was a big fan of. Yeah, what's been your take on him?
Yeah, well, I think, he's certainly at least as good. And Pete was great for us, but things move on. We've been just really blessed with great keepers over the last several seasons, haven't we? It's been superb. So really delighted to see him. I hope we keep Rory around. I think he's one for the future for me.
I was reading, I think he may be out of contract at the end of the season. So yeah, certainly.
I believe so.
Certainly
Yeah.
He's got I think he's got an option. He's got an option in York's favour at the end of the season.
Right. Oh well.
He's not been playing for them, so they have to take that option.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, true. Well, I'm sure
York likely to go up as well, so you might have a chance.
True that they're locked in a race with Rochdale at the moment. Let's talk about the table in the National League North, though, chap. So as I mentioned, we're up to 4th now. I think obviously the first 2 spots, it's File or Shields either way, isn't it? I mean, quite a tussle between them two. I mean, they could both end up on 100 points, I think, or over 100 points, and one of them not go up. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, we are currently there, 56 points from 33 games. There's a gap of 7 points between ourselves and Merthyr. But yeah, given our form, is it, maybe is 3rd not so outlandish, is it really? If you think we're 7 points behind with 3 games in hand, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Though there would be obviously an advantage of finishing 3rd because play one less playoff game, isn't it? And you would have the home advantage as well. So Wayne, what do you think? Is that a realistic shot?
I think it is. I think it's keeping the key players fit, isn't it? We've talked about Main and Maskell and McGowan, and probably Scotty Barrow, Toby Lees, Elliot Forbes at the back. And I think we saw when Tom Platt went off yesterday, we lost a bit of control in the middle, and I think he's vital. But do you know what? If we can keep those key players fit, then I can't see any reason why we can't finish 3rd. You talked about Merthyr there. I think they're going one way and we're going in the opposite direction. They've obviously lost a couple of key players. We, as you alluded to there, we lost Mark Beck a few seasons ago, and we saw what that happened. And losing the top goal scorer to Forest Green in January, I don't think it's done them any favours. So, why not? Let's, like you say, let's look upwards. I think if we look at that fixture list, we've got Fylde, we've got South Shields to play away, which are obviously going to be very tough games. But all of the teams around us, we're playing them at home, and over the next 4 Tuesdays, we've got Radcliffe, we've got Kidderminster, we've got Macclesfield. I think come the end of the month, I think the picture will be a lot clearer.
Huge one on Tuesday, isn't it, against Macclesfield, who are just outside the playoffs at the moment, but they do have plenty of games in hand on the teams just above them. You say, I think we've got 8 games left at Blackwell Meadows, just the 5 away games now, John. Looking at the highlights from yesterday's win against Bedford, I did notice the quality of the pitch at Blackwell Meadows. It was a big talking point last season, around this time, wasn't it, towards the run-in. Should we be concerned?
Look, I think, it's not been easy for the groundsman to keep that pitch in any sort of condition, particularly playing two sports on it. Rugby and football aren't massively complementary to it. But I think the weather's, certainly where I am, the weather's kind of turning a bit now. So I think we'll start to see grass grow again, which would be massively helpful for the pitch and a bit of drainage. But it's definitely affecting performances. I think at times you don't quite know how consistent that surface is going to be, and particularly when you alternate between that and a 3G pitch, it's hard for the team to find a way of playing consistently. So I think that's the effect it has. But big credit to the groundsman there for getting a game on at all. Sometimes when you see the pitch, you think, I don't know how that's going to happen, but he's doing a super job, I think. But long may it continue. We improve, but I think ultimately we've got to have a football, surface, really, a surface that's fit for purpose.
Yeah, Wayne, I don't know if you want to jump in on that topic as well.
Yeah, I think the key for me is keeping, as mad as this might sound, given that we've had games called off with waterlogged pitch. Now that the weather has fared up, it's about keeping that pitch watered. because what we've seen in the past 2 seasons is we've lost the grass off it. It's turned into a dust bowl. It's become rutted, and that's where it's really difficult for the players to play. Even kind of 5-6 yard passes are bobbling all over. And I think obviously with the improvements that we've had with the irrigation system this season, hopefully that allows the groundsman to get some water on that across the next 2 months. And as John says, hopefully we'll get a bit more grass growth on there. But I think the key thing for me is if we can keep that surface damp and not turn it into that dust bowl, then although there's not a massive covering of grass, I think it'll hopefully just see us through.
Fingers crossed. Just sort of keeping on all matters Blackwell Meadows, just want to speak about the attendances that we've had this season, chaps. Obviously, I'm saying this as an exiled fan and don't get to go to Blackwell Meadows as often as I'd like. There was just shy of 1,600 there yesterday to see that win against Bedford. We've broken 2,000 once this season, and that was the game that shall not be mentioned against Telford in the Cup. What do we think? Because I think there was a little bit of discussion about this on Facebook yesterday. Yeah, why do you think we haven't been able to attract many more fans? Is it a bit of a hang-up still from that Telford game, or the whole match day experience at Blackwell Meadows? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Dwayne, do you want to start? I'll fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've already said there we didn't do ourselves any favours against Telford, did we? And I don't even think we were expecting a crowd that big. I certainly wasn't. These days I run the ticketing, I run the turnstiles, and it caught me by surprise, I must admit. Glorious day as well to watch football. I think, it's always a hard slog through the winter, isn't it? I mean, obviously, Adam, you're over there in Australia, with your mild / British summer winters. But it takes a lot to get people off their armchairs on a Tuesday night to Blackwell Meadows, doesn't it? I think there's an element of, I'm not sure what we can actually do. However, having those games postponed in recent weeks is disappointing as well. That Kidderminster game would have been a 1,600 plus crowd. It's now a Tuesday night. You're probably looking at 1,200. And I think it's, you look at the opposition don't bring any fans. I mean, even Spennymoor, just up the road. And whether that's the facilities for the away fans, obviously there's some smaller clubs. It's quite difficult. But I think the kind of silver lining is, we're in March, the sun's out, we're on a playoff tilt. And this is the time to build momentum for me. I think I'd be really disappointed now if we couldn't kind of build on that momentum. At least the Saturday games really start to increase that crowd with a view to obviously increasing it even further if we did manage to make the playoffs. So I firmly believe that the town will start to get behind us in the coming weeks, and we will see an increase.
Okay, yeah. John, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think just to kind of build on that, I think it's important we do continue to build the fan base, particularly younger fans, because younger fans stay as become older fans eventually. It's really difficult, I think, when we're playing Tuesday night games at 7:45. That knocks off naturally quite a lot of the younger crowd. And it's cold and wet, and you're going to stand on the terrace, not get a great view. Sometimes, depending where you are, particularly if you're an away fan. So, I think we do have to improve the ground experience. I think the match day experience itself, good football, good atmosphere, that's all fine. But I'd really like to see a ground that is more comfortable to be in, and something where there are things for fans to do before the game and after the game. You need to kind of hold people's attention, because there's lots of things you can do instead these days, right? There's not. Yeah. You can sit and watch football 24/7 on your sofa. So we have to do something that gets people off the armchairs, as Wayne said, and into the ground. And I think finding that reason is really important. So I think there's more work to do there.
Yeah, you make a really good point there. Sorry, Wayne, you make a really good point there, John. I was going to ask you, Wayne, about the match day experience. As John says, the product on the pitch, it's great. You're going to get entertained, plenty of goals, plenty of great attacking play. What do you think could realistically sort of be done, Wayne, to maybe attract those floating fans?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I will say I think our pricing's very competitive, and I think from a family, we talked about that. So 2 adults, 2 children, £32 for a couple of hours plus entertainment. I think from a value perspective, I think it's great. I think, to John's point there, is there enough within the ground to keep those kids occupied? I see kids taking a ball down and having a kick about, like, alongside the area between the tin shed and the seated stand. And I think that's it for the kids. I've got a niece who's 8-year-old, and she used to come quite a lot, but it was quite hard to kind of hold that attention span. And I think, some facility within the ground or outside of the ground, some kind of fan zone that's got things going on all the time. I think that would be a good draw if that's something. I know we looked at it potentially a couple of years ago, but again, that's probably nice and appealing on a sunny afternoon on a Saturday. But we've always got to kind of have that challenge on a Tuesday night. I noticed we've started streaming the game on the TVs inside the bar now, straight from the camera, so like no latency on it, which is fantastic because some people like to enjoy a drink while they watch the football, and they've paid to get in, they're drinking in the bar. Well, why not watch on the TV? It's it's their choice. So yeah, just little kind of incremental gains. I mean, obviously, we are looking to try and build our own facility somewhere, but it's about what small incremental gains can we make at the existing ground without spending tens of thousands of pounds basically.
Yeah, and it's I agree, Adam. And I think when you go to away grounds, I've minded particularly Macclesfield, which is quite close to where I live currently in Derbyshire. Macclesfield, you go there. I attended the Darlington game there earlier on, and there's probably 150 fans watching it from the sports bar on the telly. One eye's on the telly, the other's out the window, nice and warm. If there's a nice environment, people tend to kind of multitask these days, don't they? They're looking at their iPhone, they're sitting having a drink. They want to kind of do all the things at once. We can't do that. And I think, when we look towards building our own facility, our own ground, or whatever that is in terms of sharing, we need to make sure we've got these modern facilities in place. Facilities that make it comfortable for people to watch. I think old-fashioned standing in the rain and getting soaked is not really going to hold an audience these days. So you've got to find a way.
You do, and we've discussed on this pod obviously about the new ground. Yeah, we've done it to death really. Obviously, Blackwell Meadows is going to be our home for the immediate future. I'll put this to you, chaps. I mean, as it stands, and look, we've all supported Darlo long enough to keep our feet on the floor as best we can, but it's not too outlandish to hypothesise that Darlington could be in the National League come next season. Little bit of conjecture, and I have it when I have chats with fans as well about whether we could actually afford that and afford to be a National League club. John, I'll come to you. What would be your riposte to that?
No, look, I'm glad you asked because it's a subject that's discussed by both boards. I'll also speak on behalf of the main board. Yeah, I mean, we're going hell for leather to get promoted this season, partly because it costs more every year to get promoted. If you look at the budgets in our league and above, it's more and more expensive every time. So we're kind of going, there's an escalator, it's a down escalator, and we try to walk up it, if you take the analogy. I think we've got to find a way of investing in our own future. And I think, to go into National League, we're going to need significant additional funding. If you just looked at the average of spend, you're pretty much doubling your spending by getting promoted to National League. If you took the average of a National League club, it's double our, let's say 400k budget. You can survive in the National League on a lesser budget, even on the budget we're on. There are clubs there like it, but they're typically in the lower third. So if they're outperforming, they might get to mid-table. If they're underperforming, they'll come back down again. So that's the challenge you have. So for me, there is a question mark and a challenge around the funding model for Darlington. So although we get a bit more funding by going up, I think it does say, well, realistically, what can we do? Wayne does an absolutely massive job on boost the budget. The fans want to keep doing it, but we still need more money to really challenge in National League, next level up. And I'm confident we will go up. Whether it's this season or next season, we will go up.
Okay. Wayne, how about you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, echo all of John's points there. Obviously, I think the league funding raises a little bit, but that's probably swallowed up by the extra travel that you're having to do. And then, you're looking at part-time, full-time, because you're going the length and breadth of the country. Although some might argue that we probably do that at the moment anyway. I don't think there's much further than Oxford, Hereford and Bedford, but it obviously takes the toll on the players. So you're looking at, can you sustain a part-time model at that level? If you can't, not only it's funding, it's losing those players that want to play part-time football, that won't commit to full-time football. So it's going to be a real, I think people talk about the divide between kind of League Two and the conference, but I think the conference, the National League, has just become that fifth league now, and the real step change for me is between the National League North and South and the National League. I mean, wouldn't it be great though? I mean, look at some of the clubs in the National League now. I mean, as fans who have supported Darlington over the years, there must be 15 clubs at that level that we'd consider ex-league clubs, and just going to York last season in the trophy, it just felt like a proper football game in a proper stadium, and it just absolutely whet my appetite. And looking at some of those names that we've got in the National League now, wouldn't it be fantastic to revisit some of those stadiums again? And also we talk about away travel, right? The hope is that those clubs are better supported away from home. Hopefully that will bring more revenue in. But I think, to John's point, there's only so much you can go to the well for with the fans, and we're not just going to unlock another demographic of fans by being promoted. It's going to kind of double the booster budget. We need to start looking at other ways that we can protect the fans' interest, but also bring in, external income sources as well.
Yeah. It's fascinating what's going on in the league above, isn't it? I mean, and the league above that. So, there is quite a lot of money coming in, private equity money coming into National League clubs now, which you'd never have seen. So, we've got to be mindful of that, I think.
Do you think it's the Wrexham effect, John?
I do, and also I was talking to a mate of mine who's a Swansea fan. It's a Swansea effect as well. They've got Snoop Dogg, which I don't think he's a Darlington fan, and Martha Stewart is. It's a really odd combination there.
Yeah.
I think definitely the Wrexham effect. The Wrexham effect is definitely pulling US monies in. I mean, I think that's exactly why Hartlepool have been funded in a certain way. I think that's your traction there. I know and I'm aware of other interest from US investors in other National League clubs as well. So I'm not going to say any more about it, but talking with David Johnston and so forth, he's very well connected in that space. So you can see that is going on. David sits on the National League board. Yeah. So obviously he's aware of a lot of financial things going on there. You can see that coming in. So I think, I expect to see the National League further professionalised. I think, as Wayne said, it 5th division or 4th division, if you like. The danger is National League North and South kind of decouple a bit. So I think we want to be into that National League for that reason, and that'll attract interest in the club.
Well, who knows? Maybe the likes of Taylor Swift might see her on the balcony at Blackwell Meadows in the future. You never know, do you? Anyway, let's get back to the here and now.
To expect her.
We'll get back to the here and now. Obviously, it's Macclesfield on Tuesday, chaps, and I mean, I was just reading a comment. I think it might have been from a Macclesfield fan, which was it's such a huge game when you look at the table, because a Darlo win will really cement that playoff top 4, top 5 spot, whereas a Macclesfield win coupled with the games in hand that they have, it would really blow the race wide open, wouldn't it, Wayne? So I don't know. Would you take a point, Wayne?
Good question. I know Steve wouldn't.
No, I'm sure.
No, I think the form that we're in at the moment, it's a home game. No, I think I'd be looking for the win. Like you say, let's start looking upwards. Merthyr are there to be shot at, definitely. I totally believe that. We're in we're in great form. So no, I think we can. I think we can go for it. And as we know, points on the board are better than games in hand. So we'll just see how those play out, especially with such a congestive fixture list that Macclesfield must have.
Yeah.
What about you, John? You think you're looking the same there?
I do, and as Wayne said, you talk to Steve and Terry, and they'd be furious if you said you go for a point. It's like they go for 3 points every week, and I'll be rightly told if I said anything else. I think the good thing is we've got 13 games to go. I was looking at just adding up the top 10 teams. We play 7 of the top 10 in the next 13 games. I think we play better against better teams because they're more likely to play flowing football, open football. I think that all of those we couldn't beat on the day. So I don't think any of them should cause us any problems. They're clearly the best teams are Fylde and South Shields. I'd fancy our chances against them. The biggest enemy here is consistency. It's we want to win the games, but you've got to get the average number of points up, haven't you, to stay in that race. And that top 10 is very, very tight. So, I'd certainly think we can achieve third or fourth very, very happily. But we've got to stay in the top 7. So it's and then after that, I think I'd fancy our chances. On the day, we're really good, and look at the players in the team; they're up for it. They're absolutely up for big games.
Yeah, Wayne, I caught Steve Watson's post-match interview. He did mention Tom Platt. I think he went off, I believe, against Bedford. He had a bit of a niggle. So, and I think Paddy's still a couple of weeks away, isn't he? So maybe a chance for, is it Jonah Lowe's, is that youngster from Carlisle? Maybe we'll see him on Tuesday.
Yeah, possibly. I thought it was really interesting, actually, because he opted to bring Aidan on yesterday for Tom Platt, which I thought was an interesting move, let's say. And maybe for the first kind of 3 or 4 minutes, I think we lost a bit of control on the game because I don't really think that everybody knew exactly who was playing where. So yeah, I must admit, I thought we might have seen Lowe's yesterday come on, or maybe Griff, or even Ben Headley into that space. But no, really, really interesting. I'd be interested to understand Steve's rationale for bringing Aidan on, other than just to kind of try and give him some game time. Really, we've got games coming thick and fast, as John's already mentioned there. Cedric and Jack are doing brilliantly, but whenever Aidan comes in, he's Johnny on the spot, and he almost had one yesterday, pretty much kind of first touch reflex save from the keeper. But to be honest, that area of the pitch is my main concern at the moment. I think that's where we're probably weakest. We've not seen anything of Lowe's, but yeah, having a more experienced body in there, I think for the last 13 games would help. But hopefully we can manage Tom Platt, and Paddy's not a million miles away.
Yeah, Tom's so important to this team, isn't he, John? I guess with Jonah, I believe he's quite sort of short in stature, but I'm told by Carlisle fans likes to get stuck in. So yeah, maybe a possibility that we see him at some point on Tuesday, or like Wayne says, even someone like Carl Griffiths could slot in there. I guess it would be alongside Ellis, I would imagine.
I was going to say, I think it's probably game time for getting Aidan on, because strikers trade off confidence, all of them. So I think the more time he's got on the pitch, the better. I think that what's nice for Stephen Terry is there's a great choice off the bench, isn't it? I mean, you've got Alfie Myers-Smith, we haven't seen yet. I hear great things about him. Cal and Headley, I always think, do a great job. So, we've got some strength. But I do think I'd like to see Paddy back. Tom is essential, I think, to us. And you can see the gap with Will Hatfield. Obviously, that's long term. Will be back over summer, but if you had a Will or a Paddy around now, I'd feel more certain about stuff.
We'll see what happens on Tuesday and whether Tom is, fit enough to take his place. Let's change tack slightly, chaps. I'm going to talk about Coronation Street. Why is that, you ask? Well, friend of the pod, Craig Stoddart, you might have seen, he posted on the Tin Shed Facebook group a few weeks ago that Darlington used to get an occasional mention on Coronation Street back in the 90s. I can tell you there was a Mr. Brumwell who once represented Steve MacDonald in court, a Geoffrey Gregan who was Alec Gilroy's boss at the Weatherfield Gazette, There was even an outlandish claim that Deirdre Barlow had once declared herself a Darlo fan. Now, why is that, you ask? Well, I can tell you that a gentleman called Phil Woods used to be the scriptwriter for Coronation Street, and Phil is and still is a Darlington fan. So I wanted to try and get to the bottom of this. So I went straight to the man himself, or actually I got my dad to ask him, because my dad knows Phil a little bit as he lives locally. And Phil gave me a response, which I'll share with you now. So Phil begins the message by talking about a striker called Wayne Farrell, who used to be Raquel's boyfriend. Of course, Raquel, who used to be barmaid at the Rovers' return. He played for Weatherfield County in 1992 and was transferred from Darlington. Raquel met him whilst on a publicity shoot at the club, and he invited her to go and watch him play. Not only did he score a goal, he did it without the help of any of the other players. As it said on the tannoy, Wayne Farrell own goal. After a tempestuous relationship, she realised that Des Barnes was a better bet, and she shoved poor old Wayne in the canal. Phil writes, I think he got a free transfer to Hartlepool, or he might have done if it had been my turn to write the next episode. After getting demoralised by the Weatherfield Tin Shed singing, Wayne, Wayne, go away, don't come back, another day, which is quite tepid stuff, really, from the Weatherfield Tin Shed there. I guess this going out before the watershed, isn't it? And he also says he'd forgotten about the Gregan and Brumwell references. They are indeed correct, and congratulations to whoever spotted those. So we got to the bottom of that one. I don't know. Are you Coronation Street fans, fellas, or not?
No.
Adam, it's not our first Coronation Street link, though. I'm surprised you brought it up. So in the farewell to Feetham's game, we played a Coronation Street All-Stars team. And I played in that game, as did Craig Studder and Scully, I believe.
Yeah, was it Tyrone or someone like that who might have played? Yeah, exactly. I've got a vague recollection of that now you've mentioned it. Right, how did you get on, John? Did you win?
I think we won, possibly. It was a bit of a melee of substitutions. I came on twice, I think. I got punched in the face by their keeper, another Coronation Street star. Unjustly, I'm still waiting for the appeal on that. But no, great game. Nice to play at the Old Crown.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. Well, anyway, let's finish with a quiz. Now, for the quiz this month, chaps, it's called Played for Both Clubs. So I'm going to name Darlington and another club. And your job is, it's going to basically the first one who can name a player who has played for both clubs. Now the rules are they have to have made a senior appearance for both Darlington and the other club, so it can't be a youth team. And you're allowed loan players as well. So anyone who's appeared for us on loan is absolutely fine. So, and you can just say your name as a buzzer, chaps. And yeah, they'll start quite easy. They'll get a little bit more tricky as we go along. So are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. So Darlington and Gateshead.
Wayne. Mark Beck.
Okay, Wayne, go on. Mark Beck, yeah. I mean, you could have had a few there, couldn't you? You could have had half the first team squad. Liam Hatch, Adam Campbell, Sammy Russell, who was, of course, on the last podcast. If you haven't given that a listen yet, please do. Okay, 1-0 to you, Wayne. All right. Next one. Darlington and Cambridge United.
Oh, Jacob Hazel.
That was you, John, was it?
It was, yeah.
Right. Hang on whilst I quickly check if Jacob Hazel played for Cambridge United. I can edit this bit out, guys. That's okay. Yeah. I don't think he has, John, to be honest, but I'm going to check now.
Might be Boston I'm thinking of, is it?
Yeah, I know he's definitely played for Boston. Let's have a check as I jump onto Jacob Hazel's Wikipedia page, and I cannot see Cambridge United there, I'm afraid. So over to you, Wayne.
Tricky one, actually. Ian Miller?
Yes, Ian Miller. He was the first name on my list. One of the more recent ones. You could have had also Liam Hughes, who I'm sure we all remember. He's still playing now, Liam, isn't he? He works
Still sort of playing, yeah.
Neil Heaney had a stint at Cambridge, would you believe? Stevie Mardenborough also.
Oh.
You could have had Dan Chillingworth, Tom Newey, Ash Nichols, who I can now tell you is a molecular biologist for Cancer Research UK. Dr. Nichols now, if anyone remembers
Dr.
Ash.
Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, he was centre mid at the sort of the early noughties, wasn't he? So, yeah, you could have had him as well. All right, so 2-0, Wayne. All right, John, let's see how you go on this next one. So, Darlington and Coventry City.
When?
David
right.
Speedy.
Wayne, go. Oh.
David Speedy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got to give it to Wayne there, John. Sorry, he just got in there before you. So, yeah, David Speedy. I don't know if you can name any others there, chaps.
Kevin Smith.
Yes, Kevin Smith. He's on the list as well. Yeah, I can tell you. Noel Whelan.
Noel Whelan.
If anyone remembers Noel Whelan during that Staunton either.
Rob Dewhurst?
Yeah, you know what? He's not on my list, but I think he was like the early 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he came on loan from Coventry.
You could have had Nick Pickering, Paul Dyson, John Williams. We said Kevin Smith. Casper Schmeichel had a few games for Coventry as well, would you believe? Gary Bannister, David Stockdale, and Gary Caldwell as well. So there's quite a few to choose from there. But yeah, sorry, I've got to give that to Wayne as he did sort of just get in just before you did there, John. Sorry.
I think we need
David
VAR
Speedy
on that one, Adam, I think.
Yeah. Well, a chance to redeem yourself here, John. So your next one is Darlington and Nottingham Forest.
Barry Lyons.
Yes, John. Barry Lyons. Who I think he's maybe, without being too unkind, John, maybe one from your era, possibly.
What are you saying, Adam?
Well, you said it at the start, John. I'm just repeating what you said in your intro. So.
No, you're dead right. I could probably recite the team from 1968, but I have no idea who played.
Yeah, no, you don't have to. Barry Lyons. You could have had Robbie Blake, Gary Bannister again, Brian Laws, or Frank Gray. Of course, from that Brian Little side, Frank Gray had a spell at Nottingham Forest. So, yeah, John, you're on the board there, 3-1. Now, this is actually the last one, John, so I'm afraid you can't overturn Wayne, but you can.
I thought it was a two-leg tie, this, Adam.
Well, maybe you can come back on another pod and we can have a second leg.
Away goes can't.
Well, see how you go with this one, chaps. So, the last one, Darlington and Chelsea.
David Speedy.
David Speedy. Yeah, you got it. David Speedy comes up yet again. Also, I only had two names for this one, which was Speedy and also Ross Turnbull, who played one game for us on loan when he was at Middlesbrough, and then went on to sign for Chelsea. Was sort of Petr Cech's understudy, actually on the bench when they won the Champions League final. 3-2. Actually, go on. Let's have one more. Let's have a decider, because I did scribble one down here. So go on then, John. A chance to pinch a draw here. So your last one, I promise this is the last one, chaps, is Darlington and Manchester United.
When Gary Twynham.
I don't think Gary Twynham played for Man United's first team.
Simon Davies.
Don't think he did as well.
No, I
might check after this. What do you think, John?
I was going to say, did David Wheater play for them?
He would have played against Man United, but he never played for them. I'm sure he would have told us if he had. So.
Man United? Okay. No, I don't know.
No one? Okay, so I've got three names here. So I've got Keith Gillespie.
Yeah.
Who played one game for us. I think that might have been the Staunton era. Again, I've got a vague recollection of being there when he might have played at the arena. Gary Pallister.
Pallister, of course. That was the obvious
Gary
one,
Pallister was on loan from the Borough at the time. And, of course, went on to play for Man United. And my last one was a goalkeeper, Ray Wood.
Ray Wood. When was that?
Yeah, I think that would have been even before your time, John. It was back in the medieval times, I think. Yeah, so I believe.
Did he play with Arthur Wharton? I can't remember.
Ray Wood, who I think he was one of the Busby Babes, and they might have survived the Munich air disaster. So, yeah. All right. So I've got that 3-2 to you, Wayne. But yeah, no, good one there, chaps. Thank you. And that will do it, I think, for today's episode. So many thanks for joining us. Really, really interesting discussion there. You can obviously follow the podcast listener on the usual socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or you could even buy us a coffee, and please give us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. We'll be back next month in April, and hopefully we're still in that top 4, top 5. I'm not saying top 7 now, am I? I'm getting ahead of myself. So a huge month to come for Darlington. Many thanks, listener, for downloading this episode, and thanks to you, Wayne.
Thank you.
And thanks to you as well, John.
No, pleasure. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Wayne.
And we'll be back next month. Thank you.